Hare Krishna. Ye anilo prema dhana karuna prachur. Ye anilo. You don't need a song? You don't need a sheet? Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Chaya Thakur. Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan. Kandasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan. Kaha Mora Bhatta Juga Kaha Kaviraj. Eka Kali Kotha Gela Goranataraj. Bhashane Kuti Bo Mata Annale Pashibo. Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kotangele Pabo. Se Sabba Sangira Sangi Je Koi Lo Bilas. Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamada. Jayanilo Prema Dhana Gaurana Prachur. Aheno Prabhu Kota Gela Chaya Thakur. Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where is such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Surup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So today is the very auspicious disappearance day of Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, and we are going to read some of his pastimes and qualities here from the Samadhi's book. In 1849, Srila Gaura Das Babaji left Grihastha life after the death of his wife. He moved to Vrindavan and took initiations from Sri Bhagavat Das Babaji, a disciple of Sri Jagannath Das Babaji. For over 30 years, Gaura Das stayed in Vrindavan, performing bhajan under the trees at Giri Govardhan, Nandagram, Varshan, Radhakund, Suryakund, Raval, Gokula, and others. Sitting in seclusion, he chanted 200,000 names of Krishna every day, 128 rounds of japa. He felt painful separation from Radha Govinda and cried profusely. As he wandered through the 12 forests of Braj, he would loudly chant the holy names in a deep voice full of lamentation. He would also relish the following bhajan. I'm not going to read all the Bengali, but about half of it is made up of the names of Radha. Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, Radhe, where are you? O goddess of ecstatic love. O Radhe, Radhe, all glories to you. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, Radhe, please show yourself to me and thereby maintain my life. Your most despicable fallen servant calls out to you, O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, O artful enjoyer of Vrindavan. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, O enchantress of Krishna's mind. O Radhe, Radhe. O crest jewel of your 8 main girlfriends. O Radhe, Radhe. O delightful daughter of Maharaj Vrishabhanu. O Radhe, Radhe. Srila Babaji Maharaj's mood of renunciation was unparalleled. Sometimes he ate mud from the banks of Radhakund or the Yamuna River. At other times he took madhukari from the Brajbasis. Madhukari is a Babaji's daily practice of begging a little food from 1 to 7 houses, just as a bee collects a drop of honey from each flower. He saw all the Brajbasis as being the direct personal associates of Radha and Krishna. As a result of this vision, he would pay respects to every person, cow, animal, bird, tree, creeper, insect, and ant in the holy dham. While staying in Varshana, he made a flower garland every day for Radha and Krishna. After 30 years of rendering intimate services to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, Babaji felt inspired by the divine couple to see Sri Navadvip Dham. He visited all the Leela stans of Lord Gauranga in Gaur Mandala, that's the places of pastime. In Navadvip, he used to sing one bhajan, which means, by receiving Nitai's mercy, one gets Gauranga's mercy, which makes one eligible for Krishna's prema. With Krishna prema, one can attain the service of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. Gaura Das Babaji was the embodied form of Sri Rupa Raghunath's renunciation. Completely detached, he would wash discarded cloth to cover his body. He drank from a rejected clay pot. Parched rice mixed with Ganges water or simply some mud from the Ganges bank sustained his life. He carried 2 books written by Sri Narottam Das Thakur, Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika. On Ekadashi, he didn't eat or drink a drop of water. Recognizing him to be a Mahabhagavat, many tried to serve him, but he never accepted any service. Regularly, he associated with and heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Swananda Sukhada Kunj in Godrumadweep. Constantly absorbed in bhajan, Srila Babaji Maharaj had no desire to make disciples. On the request of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, however, he reconsidered. Upon seeing the true humility and deep attachment of Thakur Bhaktivinoda's son for bhajan, Srila Gaura Das Babaji accepted one disciple, Sri Varshabhanavi Dayata Das, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. To keep mundane people from approaching him for material boons, he once resided in the lavatories at Kulia Dharmashal in Koladweep for 6 months. When public officials came offering to build him a proper bhajan kutir, Babaji Maharaj locked himself inside and said he already had one. He believed that associating with materialistic people was much worse than the smell of stool in the latrine. Gaura Das Babaji advised a Calcutta doctor who wanted to open a free health clinic in Navadvip Dham. If you really want to live in Navadvip Dham, then give up your desire to run a free clinic for healing sense enjoyers. If you want to render substantial service, then renounce everything except what promotes Hari Bhajan. All other kinds of duties and services simply bind one to the ghastly cycle of karmic reactions. Babaji Maharaj spoke gravely to a newly married man. A Vaishnava wife is extremely rare and difficult to find in this world. If one has the good fortune of having one, he should see it as a benediction from Krishna. The wife worships the husband as her lord and master. Similarly, the husband should worship the wife because she is Krishna Dasi, a servant of Krishna. In this way, the husband can protect his devotional enthusiasm by not considering his wife to be his maidservant, but she is always the maidservant of Krishna. Okay. So then this is another instruction of his. One who wants bhojana, eating palatably, will spoil his bhajana. His bhajan was a favorite quote of Srila Babaji Maharaj. In other words, eating here and there simply to gratify the tongue, bhojana, destroys any attempts at worshipping Krishna, bhajana. Once a devotee ate some festival prasadam in his bhajan kutir. Babaji Maharaj would not speak to him for 3 days. On the 4th day he said, "You accepted festival prasadam given by low-class harlots and beautiful women. Because you took food without considering its origin, your bhajan is useless." Whoa. The essence of Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji's instructions, quote, "The divine name of Krishna offers the one and only shelter. One should never try to remember Radha Damodar's transcendental pastimes by artificial methods. Constant chanting of the divine names will purify the heart. By chanting Harinam, the syllables of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, will gradually reveal the spiritual form, qualities, pastimes of Krishna." The spiritual form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna. This thing needs an edit. Then you will realize your own eternal spiritual form, service, and the 11 particulars of your spiritual identity, close quote. In pursuance of Babaji Maharaj's statement, quote, "Drag my dead body through the streets of Navadvip," a group of so-called advanced devotees proposed to commit the said sacrilege. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, however, challenged them. According to Shastra, one who has had carnal association with a loose woman within the last 24 hours is contaminated, and therefore not qualified to touch my Guru Maharaj. Hearing this bold statement, the black-hearted Brahmins made a hasty retreat. On the 19th of November 1915, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj joined the eternal blissful pastimes of Gandharvika Giridhari, that's Radha Krishna. His beloved disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, established his samadhi on the banks of Sri Chaitanya Math's Radha Kund, near Lord Chaitanya's Yoga Peeth in Sridham Mayapur. In Braj Leela, Gaurkishore Das Babaji serves Srimati Radharani as Guna Manjari. His Pushpa Samadhi stands beside the Radha Kunj Vihari Gaudiya Math near Radha Kund. Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Ki Jai. Those are nearby at 11:50, 10 minutes to 12. Please gather for Pushpanjali for Gaur Das Babaji today. Hare Krishna. Okay, now proceeding to Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. What's the number of the verse there? 38, right? Okay. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam deving saraswatim vyasam tato jai mudiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Dityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So we're just going to go right to the chanting. I think you can pick it up, and I'll read the synonyms myself so that we can make up a little lost time. Te Sheva Bhagavan Rajang. Oh, wait, I didn't do Om Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 11th day of November 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 7, Science of God, Chapter 14, Ideal Family Life, text number 38. Te Shveva Bhagavan Rajans Tadatam Yena Vartate Tasmat Patrang Hi Purusho Yavan Atma Yate Yate Te Shveva Bhagavan Rajans Tadatam Yena Vartate Tasmat Patram Hi Purusho Yavan Atma Yate Yate Te Shveva Bhagavan Rajans Tadatam Yena Vartate Tasmat Patram Hi Purusho Yavanatma Yate Yate. Two chanters. Te Shveva Bhagavan Rajans Tadatam Yena Vartate Tasmat Patrang Hi Purusho Yavanatma Yate Yate. Te Shveva Bhagavan Rajans Tadatam Yena Vartate Tasmat Patram Hi Purusho Yavanatma Yate Yate. So I'll read the synonyms myself, and those who have books can just read along. Teshu, among the different types of bodies, demigod, human, animal, bird, etc. Eva, indeed, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his Paramatma feature. Rajan, O king, Taratam Yena, comparatively, more or less. Vartate is situated. Tatsmat, therefore, Patram, the Supreme Person. He, indeed, Purushaha, Paramatma. Yavan, as far as Atma, the degree of understanding. Yata, development of austerity and penance. Iyate, is manifest. Translation. O King Yudhishthira, Narada Muni speaking, O King Yudhishthira, the Supersoul in every body gives intelligence to the individual soul according to its capacity for understanding. Therefore, the Supersoul is the chief within the body. The Supersoul is manifested to the individual soul according to the individual soul's comparative development of knowledge, austerity, penance, and so on. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said, Mattak Smitir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect as Supersoul, gives intelligence to the individual soul as far as he is able to grasp it. Therefore, we find the individual soul in different high and low positions. A living entity with the body of a bird or beast cannot take instructions from the Supreme Soul as adequately as an advanced human being. Thus, there are gradations of bodily forms. In human society, the perfect Brahman is supposed to be the most advanced in spiritual consciousness, and further advanced than the Brahman is the Vaishnav. Therefore, the best persons are the Vaishnavas and Vishnu. When charity is to be given, one should take instruction from the Bhagavad Gita 17:20. Datavyam iti yaddanam diyate nupakarine deshe kale cha patre cha taddanam satvikam smritam. That gift which is given out of duty at the proper time and place to a worthy person and without expectation of return is considered to be charity in the mode of goodness. One should give charity to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, for thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead will be worshipped. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya comments, Brahmadi stavaran teshu navishesho hare kvachit Bhakti matra visheshena taratamyam vadanticha. From Brahma down to the ant, everyone is conducted by the Supersoul, Ishwarak Savabhutanam Videsher Janatishtati. But because of a particular person's advancement in spiritual consciousness, he is considered to be important. Therefore, the Brahman Vaishnav is important, and above all, the Supersoul, the personality of Godhead, is the most important personality. Om Jnanatimurandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, chapter 13 is very of Bhagavad Gita is very illuminating concerning the individual knower in the body, the Kshetrajna, and the supreme knower of the body, the Supersoul. Arjuna asks, I think, 6 questions at the beginning. What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? What is who is the Kshetrajna? Yes. What is knowledge? What is the goal of knowledge? Like that. And what is the final object of knowledge? And Krishna systematically answers those questions. Now, really, a lot of the first part is understanding what the Kshetra is. That's easy. The Kshetra is the body. It's a field of activity for every soul. And it's interesting because you think, well, my field of activity is much broader than just my body. Look, I've got all this here, and of course, I'm a farmer, I got a big field, I got a lot to do. But actually, when you think about it, everything that we're doing, this came up because we were on chapter 13, and we just finished chapter 13 in the evening class. Okay, I see something out there, but what is really going on? I'm perceiving, by the arrangement of the Supersoul and the whole arrangement of the body, the light that is hitting the retina. The retinas, my 2 eyes, right? That's the seeing. So I think my field of activity is out there, but it's dependent on this original field. The same thing true for the ears, how the senses work. We learned in 4th grade, right? So that's really where we're acting with our field. Now, by the higher intelligence of human intelligence, we can learn so much things about the broader field due to what's coming and because of what the Supersoul is giving us the intelligence to understand it, you see. But as explained here, and it's very clear and obvious, that according to the body, like, forgive me, I like to do this example because I take this walk. So there's inevitably somebody or several people walking their dog or dogs at the same time that I'm doing my walk. And so you can obviously see that the dog also has a certain amount of intelligence. And there's this one guy who has this funny little dog who can walk, he walks in a funny way, and he's a small dog. And he doesn't need a leash for that dog. The dog is if he tries to run away, he'll just go and grab him and pick him up. And oftentimes across the street, he just picks the dog up and walks across the street. But that dog, I mean, because we've been hearing about, you always hear, you read Prabhupada's books, if you don't love Krishna, then you can turn your love toward the dogs and cats and things like that. And we see that, The people are, women's walking with 2 large dogs, and this way she feels safe, like that, whatever. So this is going on, but you can see these animals, they have a certain amount of intelligence. And the birds, the crows are going and they sense I'm walking, and then by instinct is just the Supersoul telling them what to do. They say, okay, I better run away and then fly away, right? They have a certain instinct for safety, for defense. This is part of it. So this is such a wonderful part of Krishna consciousness. You actually see differently your everyday life, what's going on. And in Krishna consciousness, we are chanting and trying to become purified, and in reading Krishna's words or the words of Krishna's pure devotee, and of course the Bhagavatam, and so that our intelligence will increase, and we'll see everything differently. We'll see the Lord everywhere. This is the big thing, because what really exists? What are we seeing? It's all Krishna's energy. There's one verse you may notice. I just know the first line. Idam vishwan bhagavan nivetaro. This is the Prabhupada who sometimes quote this much of the verse. Idam vishwan bhagavan. This universe is actually Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ivetara, but it seems to be something different. You see? Itara, it seems to be something else. Why is it Bhagavan? Because there's nothing in existence but Krishna's energies. the higher and lower energies. I'm looking at this temple. Of course, it's become sacred because it's used in Krishna's service, spiritual. But basically, it's made of the earth, water, fire, air, ether, like stuff like that. Same thing with our bodies, right? Same thing with us. We're the higher energy. Jiva says 7th chapter, very important chapter, he goes through. And besides these lower energies, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, there is the superior energy, para prakriti, which consists of the living entities. You see? So when if you're seeing the world and seeing yourself through the eyes of Shastra, which you're supposed to do, that's why it's so important we chant it before each class, the regular attendance of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this higher intelligence, which is coming to us from the sound vibration of the Bhagavatam, of Bhagavad Gita, which is ultimately the same Supersoul speaking to us. I think a verse in the CC describes how, because we're not listening to the Supersoul, we can't hear him in there because we're too focused, we're too covered by material energy and focused on trying to be the Lord rather than serve the Lord. So then the Maya covering comes over us, and we can't perceive the instruction of the Supersoul. The two birds in the tree, right? One of the birds is the tree is the body, and one of the birds is the individual soul, and he's busy trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree. So he's not paying attention to the other bird, which is the Supersoul, who's simply observing, you see, and giving. So the whole point is to and the verse in the CC, I forget the Bengali, but it's that the Supersoul comes outside to instruct us because we're not listening to him inside, outside, in the form of the spiritual master, or spiritual masters, bona fide, and the Shastra. He's speaking to us. Prabhupada always makes this point, I think, because I listen to classes every day, I heard him making this point. When we read Bhagavad Gita, we should feel that we're right there with Krishna, that we're actually associated with Krishna. Just because you can't say, oh, it was 5,000 years ago, I wish I was there. You are there in the most essential way. You're hearing the questions of Arjuna, and you're hearing Krishna's enlightenment, pure answers. So having that, realization or thinking that way should really enliven us in hearing these Shastra. And I remember there's one memorable purport where it's the first canto, and Narada Muni is very prominent there. He comes, instructs Vyasadeva, these very important verses in actually why he should write the Bhagavatam, because he'd written all these other books, but you haven't dealt enough purely with Krishna and Krishna's service and Krishna's servants. So after a few of those, there's one purport, I forget which one it is, where he says, and we really want to thank Narada Muni for appearing in the pages of the Bhagavatam. This is how, the great devotees, they're reading the Shastra. They're feeling the presence, of Radha and Krishna. You're reading some works of the Goswamis. And that's why the hearing and chanting, but it's beginning with the hearing, is the essential foundation of everything. Dvijamani Prabhu was giving a class yesterday, and I was thinking, because he didn't get to that last verse, the 21, and I was all set. Gaurakesh was living next to me because there's an important adjustment, editorial thing. And I'm not going to get into detail about it, but what it is, the Vidyate Vidya Grantis, thus all the knots in the heart are destroyed, cut to pieces. All the doubts are destroyed. Vidyate Vidya Grantis, Chidyante Sarva Sangshaya, cut to pieces, all the doubts, right? You're coming at the end. Sarva Sangshaya, Chiyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evatmanishvare. And when all your karma is then dissipated by your hearing, chanting, practicing, then what happens? What's there now is not what Prabhupada wrote. What Prabhupada actually wrote is one sees oneself the determining factor. Ishware was translated as the determining factor, which is Krishna, is Ishwar, is the Ishwar, So in the purport it says one sees one's master. Prabhupada said in the purport. So very nicely, Hayagriva took that and made that instead of the determining factor, which is a little confusing. But he didn't know what to do with one sees oneself, comma, one's master. That doesn't work. In other words, we're not God. It's not saying in the Sanskrit. So there's a word missing. And he took that word missing to be as. But even if we sees oneself as one's master, or as the master, that doesn't work, you know. So he took out the one self. So it's not oneself. One sees the self as master, but it's lowercase s. So still it's confusing. Oh, I mean, so many devotees wrote me, editors, you know, they write, what is this all about? So I thought, well, just capitalize the S, because that's the convention, right? We know that by now. If you see cap as self, that's the super self. But if small s, that's the individual self. But that's not the solution. The actual solution is you read the next line. There's no other line in the translation. The next line is the first line of the purport. And what that says is that when one achieves scientific knowledge, the previous verse, which in Prabhupada's vocabulary means seeing directly. That's scientific knowledge, directly perceived. When one achieves scientific knowledge of the Lord, one sees oneself as well. One sees oneself, you see? So what it now is, one sees oneself and one's master. In other words, you see your actual form, the Siddhadeha, you know, and you see the Lord in your heart. Preman janacharita bhakti vilochanena. So anyway, you didn't get to it, so I didn't have to talk about that. But that's very pertinent here. The whole, what you were describing, and what that whole series of verses, beginning with text 6, very important. How many are aware of the book, what to speak of read it, the Dharma, the Way of Transcendence? You know about it, right? Okay, some of the distributors know. That book was produced, I had the idea for that book, on the model of the teachings of Queen Kunti and the teachings of Lord Kapila Dev. And how were they produced? Srila Prabhupada, he spoke on all the teachings of Queen Kunti and gave us, you know, wonderful lectures on them. And as well, you'll find it in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? With nice purports that he wrote back in the 60s. Same thing with the teachings of Kapila Dev. He spoke on those wonderful chapters at the end of the 3rd canto. You know, Kapila Dev was teaching his mother. And this was in Bombay, I think, and he gave wonderful lectures. So the format is that you take exactly from the book, the transliteration, not the Devanagari, but the transliteration, synonyms, and the translation and the purport, and then you append, after each purport, selections from what he spoke. You know, you don't give the whole lecture, the whole transcript, but that's it. So we did that with the Dharma, the Way of Transcendence. And because he spoke on the Sabai Pungsang Paro Dharma verses all the way to Vidyate Vidya Gruntis. It's 21, I think that's 15, 16 verses, 17 verses, something like that. So that book can be looked up. So we have less time, but the point here is that the Supersoul is within every or let's call it organism. Prabhupada doesn't use that word, but that's what it is. The combination of a soul and a body. That's an organism, right? And according to the body, according to the brain, the Supersoul is able to direct the soul, embodied soul, what to do here. And basically, 4 things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. You know, that's fight or flight. The birds all have the flight, basically, you know, except for the hawks and the eagles, you know, they'll fight with, you know, they have talons, you know. So every animal, every organism has that. And if you see the world that way, you'll see, you know, begin to see the presence of the Supersoul of Krishna everywhere. He really is everywhere, you know. And look at a car. There's a million cars going by. You know, what is the car? You know. So the car came to be. First of all, the raw materials had to be there. Most of the steel and all of the different things in the items, right? That's all part of the earth. It's all bhumi, you know. And there's also other things, and you've got fire in there, of course. You got burning of the fuel or whatever. Electric cars have somehow. So there's elements. But most importantly, it came about because of the intelligence of more than one engineer, the automotive engineers who put it together, right? So what is that intelligence? That's also Krishna's energy. That's also coming from the Supersoul. So everything we see is different combinations of material energy. And when we see something that's you know, and when it's not produced by human beings, it's a tree. Well, that's all. The superior intelligence there is Krishna, who arranged for that soul to be in the tree, you know, because of something he did, and eventually leave the tree. These poor trees, they're standing here I mean, I've been here 35 years, same trees, you know, and they were probably here 50 years before I got here. So this is punishment, you know. Luckily, mostly they're covered, except for Nalakuva and Manigriva. They remembered everything for 30,000 years. Hare Krishna, blessing, curse. So this, you know, this is an important verse because it helps. They're all important, but Prabhupada is gradations of bodily forms, you know. So it's a way of helping us to see the Lord everywhere, and it's through His energies and through those who He's giving intelligence to, the living entities that we're surrounded by. And what is our intelligence as devotees? We want to use our facilities that we've been given to always stay connected to Krishna through practical service with our hands and our feet and all these things, you know. And of course, what's the most important active sense? Karmendriya that we have? The voice. The voice, the chanting, you know. So we have that. Mine is a little old. This is what it used to be, but it's functional. And to stay connected to Krishna. So we've been given so many wonderful vibrations to hear, and in the books, you know, to chant. And in this way, the Sanskrit is so powerful that most of you, you know, appreciate this to some degree. How it's so eloquent, so concise, and wonderful meter. So that helps us to be attracted. The same principle is there for kirtan, the Lord Chaitanya's gift, the Sankirtan gift, as a Yuga Dharma. I like to point out this Taurya Trikena. Does anyone remember what that? I've referred to this before. Taurya Trikena, singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments. Okay. Now, obviously, we know that can be a big force for Maya, right? And people, as I'm walking by my temple of the body called the Yard Gym, imported from Australia. They have one up here in Cass. Very popular. Young people are running there, you know, in their tights and everything to get there on time. And what's going on in there? You know, heavy exercise. Sometimes they run around. They go outside and run around. And there's this loud mode of ignorance music playing in there, you know, very rhythmic, you know. So that, you know, they're misusing it. But if we are disciplined and we renounce material sound, that's a very big thing, right? I just thought of one verse recently. This is by Rupa Goswami. It's in that Leela Chanda, his summary of Vrindavan Leela. So it goes like this, very sweet verse. Apispada mode pradibada sudako timadode Purana gramante bahatita balila rasajare Mano vatsak patam vishaya vishagate vishatime Kripa yasya turnam damayatamamam tarnakapate. Now, we just did Gopastami, where Krishna graduates from calf herd to cow herd, right? So here, this verse is a coda, at the end of the first few pastimes, where he's still a calf herd, you know. So it begins like, although the nectarian river of your wonderful Leela is flowing throughout the Shastras, beginning with the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that stream is, you know, delightful. Still, the calf of my mind has wandered away from that stream and has gone into a dish to drink the poisonous swill of sense gratification. Vishaya vishagate. Please take your stick of mercy, O calf herd Krishna, and bring that calf of my mind back to this nectarian river of your Leela. Sweet. But that's really, you know, one of the main sadhanas. I mean, you're chanting Hare Krishna, but you're not exactly hearing. You're thinking something else going on, you know. So you bring the mind back, you know. No, that's an offense. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Let me hear every syllable. I remember years ago, when I was in L.A., in the 70s, I think it was. Yeah, it must have been the 70s. That's when I lived there for about 4 years. And they had a lot of bhaktas, you know. And so they allowed me to give bhakta classes and this like that. So I think I told them, you have to try to hear these 32 syllables. 32 syllables in the Hare Krishna mantra, every syllable. You have to really concentrate like that. So it was years later when I visited there, probably when I was living here. I used to go up there and spend time putting out the books before the internet took everything over. In the 90s, probably. And there was one devotee there, initiated devotee, who had been part of that Bhakti class or something, and he thanked me for that one instruction. So always try to hear every syllable of the Hare Krishna mantra. It's so, obvious, but it's not easy. The mind has so many impressions, so many desires, so many latent things that take you away and thinking this. I remember Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he was famous for this. He would say, well, if I finish a round, I realize I hardly heard anything there. He does a round over. He'll do a round over. That's a real discipline. Because when you're chanting, boy, if I don't control my mind, I'm going to have to chant around again. So, but that's really such a main thing of just to be humbly praying at the lotus feet of the holy name. Let me hear you. Please enlighten me. Please enliven me. Please purify so that I can progress in devotional service. That prayerfulness. Prayerful chanting. And Prabhupada said, it's actually a prayer, please engage me in your service. I remember I was at all right, we'll have to end here because it's late. These japa retreats. There were quite a few of them in the early aughts. They had several of them up here at Joshua Tree. There's like a whole facility there for retreat or, vacation and everything. And it's great. Mahatma there, it was mentioning, I think someone mentioned how he was doing all these seminars. He took a seminar on giving seminars, and he became expert at doing that. He's very intelligent, wonderful devotee. So he was one of the leaders, one of the presenters, and others. So and then we chant, and there was a where they asked you for your realization. So I didn't have many realizations, but I had this one thing: is that as you chant, you can be praying to the holy name, praying to the holy name for the mercy of the holy name, that you'll be able to concentrate better, because the holy name is not different from Krishna. You see. So anyway, that's and that prayerfulness. Prayer is central to our practice. It's interesting, Vandanam, right? Vandanam is prayer, but it's also bowing down. Because you study the prayers. I once did this seminar with Ramapad Maharaj at Christmas time in Chicago. And it was Vandanam. And I studied some of the prayers, like Queen Kunti's prayer, Prahlad prayers. And generally they all begin with offering obeisances, So that's the bowing down. And then there's often glorification of just like we do with Tulsi. Oh, anyone who takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. You're so dear, Here's my desire. I just want to live in Vrindavan, and So and so that's a format. Queen Kunti, the first word is Namasye Purusham Tvajam, and the last word is in the prayers is Namaste. So you begin and end with obeisances. But then there's the request. There's always a request. Otherwise, it's not a prayer. So what do you ask for? We don't want to ask for something material. We know not to ask for that, right? So Queen Kunti, she has, I think, several prayers where she has requests. Yeah, please cut off my attraction to my children. Then the next one is, Tvaime, this is one of my all-time favorites, Tvaime nanivishaya mati madhupate yasakrit ratamun vahataradha gange vaugamadanvati. O Madhu's Lord, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind, as Ganges torrent flows into the sea, that all my love flow constantly to thee. What a treasure, I mean, it's right there. You just pick it up. It'll take you about 30 seconds, maybe 45, to memorize the English of that little prayer, And if you want to do the poem, I'll give you that, And then you can offer it to Krishna, right? You can offer it 10 times. It's like, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to purify our consciousness so that our heart is clear, and when we chant, we're really chanting from the heart, and we're sincere. And as was mentioned, you mentioning who was Swayam Bhagavan Swami? Is that this list of things that we should try? Are we really desiring to advance, and what do we like that? So this is the introspective practice of Krishna consciousness, which we need to adopt. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Anyone want to ask a question or make a comment or objection? Go ahead. I think. Okay, go ahead, bro.
I'd like to ask a question about the disappearance of Shri Gaurkishore Das Babaji. There's something you read in Vraja Lila. He serves as the Guna Manjari. I was wondering, how do we get that knowledge about the spiritual form in the Vraja Lila? Where do we get that from? How is it revealed to us?
I'm not going to give any personal experience about that, because I never thought of that. But I always assume that before they disappear, they reveal that. That's revealed in how he's reacting, what he's, how, he's speaking and things like that, And I think that that's revealed before.
So he would
reveal it too.
Himself would reveal it. To
yeah. That's what I assume. Otherwise, it could be some other super realized soul who, realizes that and tells it. I don't know. That's way beyond me.
And also,
but I do know that almost all of our acharyas in our line are manjaris. Let's see, yeah.
Also, like there's 2 books being mentioned by Sri Narottama Das Thakur. Do you know these books?
Yeah. Those are famous. Yeah,
Mm.
Prarthana, I think, is what it contains. The song we sing, Shri Guru Charana Padma.
So, what are these books exactly? Prarthana, Prema, Bhakti, Chandrika. Those are like.
Those are songbooks. I have them.
Okay.
I can share them with you. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. So, 11:50, Pushpanjali, if you're around, please come on time.